An absolute nightmare scenario has officially hit our secondary, leaving our defense completely exposed and the front office scrambling for emergency fixes. Key starters are dropping like flies right as training camp heats up, and a devastating injury timeline has forced an immediate roster shakeup behind closed doors. With up to 10 full weeks without our star defensive back, the team just signed an emergency reinforcement. But is this quick fix enough to stop an absolute defensive disaster? If you love intense, raw, fan-first coverage of our team, smash that like button, share this video, and hit subscribe right now so you never miss an emergency update. Ask yourself this: can a contending football team actually survive a month and a half without its top secondary playmaker? Or are we staring down the barrel of a ruined season before October even arrives? Let's dive right into the breaking news that just dropped minutes before we hit record. The front office has officially executed a pair of roster moves to try and patch up a defense that is hanging on by a thread. We are officially signing Marlon Sewell, an undrafted rookie defensive back out of Vanderbilt from the 2025 class. To make room on the roster, veteran defensive end Jonathan Garvin, a guy who has bounced around practice squads for years, is being moved to the reserve/injured list. Now, let's look at Marlon Sewell and what this move actually means for our squad. If you've been tracking our off-season workouts, you might remember Sewell was actually one of 6 players brought in for a workout right before training camp kicked off. Out of the 4 defensive backs competing in that workout, Sewell clearly impressed the coaching staff enough to earn a contract. After going undrafted out of Vanderbilt, where he put together a productive 5-year collegiate career capped off by 52 tackles last season, he had a brief cup of coffee with Kansas City before landing here. He brings solid tactical versatility, but let's speak hard truth for a second. Is an undrafted free agent really expected to jump right in and salvage our secondary? At this point in training camp, Sewell is the classic definition of a camp body. When your roster gets crippled by a sudden wave of injuries, you simply need functional athletes to eat up practice reps so your starting defense doesn't burn out from exhaustion. Maybe Sewell turns heads, puts together great practice tape, and earns a spot on the practice squad. But nobody should fool themselves into believing this is a long-term solution. The front office cannot just pat themselves on the back and call it a day. They have to keep aggressively scanning the free agent market and monitoring trade phones for legitimate, proven talent. Because make no mistake about it, the injury bug hasn't just nipped at our defense, it has taken a massive bite out of our entire secondary depth chart. Kobe Bryant is officially sidelined for 8 to 10 weeks with a knee issue. Terrell Smith got banged up in practice yesterday and had to leave the field. On top of that, both Kyler Gordon and Elijah Hicks are currently stuck on the physically unable to perform list. We are literally burning through defensive backs faster than we can bring them in. Things have gotten so desperate that defensive coordinator Dennis Allen admitted earlier today that Cam Lewis is being forced to slide back primarily to safety just to keep the secondary functional. That leaves us in a chaotic situation. Are we going to sign a natural safety? Do we go out and grab a true nickel corner? Where is Kyler Gordon actually at in his recovery process? Right now, we don't have all the answers, but the clock is ticking down fast. That brings us straight into our question of the day, and I want every single member of this fan base to sound off in the comments section below. If you were sitting in the general manager's chair today, which veteran target would you sign immediately to save the secondary? And do you feel the front office is playing a dangerous game by waiting this long? Drop your exact target and your hot take down in the comments below right now. I want to read what you guys think. Now, let's analyze the core situation surrounding Kobe Bryant. The silver lining here, if you can even call it that, is that his injury is not season-ending. If this 8 to 10 week timeline holds true, we are looking at a return window somewhere between week 3 and week 6 of the regular season. If he heals on the rapid side at 8 weeks, he could potentially walk back onto the field for that massive Monday Night Football battle against the Philadelphia Eagles. If his recovery takes the full 10 weeks, he comes back right after our Week 5 battle against the Green Bay Packers, setting him up for a Week 6 return. Having him back for the heart of the regular season is huge, but let's be totally real. Missing 4 to 6 games in the NFL is an eternity. If you drop 2 or 3 critical conference games early in the year because your secondary gets torched, your entire playoff push could be dead on arrival before midseason. Because Cam Lewis is forced to shift to safety alongside Dylan Thiemann, and with Elijah Hicks still working his way back, our front office has to look at every high-level option available. Let me walk you through the top free agent safeties, elite nickel corners, and realistic trade targets who could step in tomorrow and stabilize this defense. First up on the free agent market is veteran safety Xavier Woods. Woods is a battle-tested NFL veteran who spent last season with the Tennessee Titans. He was banged up a bit last year, playing in just 11 games, but his overall production when healthy was extremely solid. He posted a 70.3 coverage grade on Pro Football Focus, paired with 3 pass breakups and 2 interceptions. The year before that, he registered over 100 tackles. He has been a full-time starter for the overwhelming majority of his career, and while his run defense took a step back last season, he has proven he can play physical in the box. The real question is whether Xavier Woods would accept a short-term starting role knowing he might revert to a reserve once Kobe Bryant comes back. But at this stage of the offseason, how many starting jobs are open across the league, especially on a roster trying to contend? A short-term deal could be a win-win for both sides. Another target worth watching is Donovan Wilson. Wilson has already been taking free agent visits, including a high-profile trip out to Seattle. He built his reputation in Dallas as an aggressive, hard-hitting box safety. Now, let's not sugarcoat things. His coverage grades last season were rough. But if you play him to his strengths, as a pure, downhill box safety who attacks the run while letting Dylan Thiemann handle deep post duties, Wilson makes a ton of sense. Plus, he represents the ideal third safety. Once Kobe Bryant returns, Wilson easily slides into sub-packages, dime formations, and special teams without disrupting team chemistry. Last year in Dallas, almost nobody in that secondary played well under that defensive scheme. A fresh environment under our coaching staff could spark a major bounce-back year, and he wouldn't cost big money. Then we have Jabril Peppers. Peppers is such a fascinating option because he has only started 8 games over the past 2 seasons, yet whenever he takes the field, his analytical grades are top tier. 2 seasons ago, his grades were sitting comfortably in the 80s. Even in limited snaps last season, he produced at an extremely high level. Injuries have disrupted his career consistency, but he is still roughly 30 years old, possesses dynamic physical traits, and knows how to play multiple roles. He isn't going to demand all-pro money, but as a plug-and-play starter who can cover tight ends and tackle in space, Peppers is sitting right there waiting for a phone call. If you want proven leadership and reliable starting play, look no further than Jordan Poyer. Yes, he is 35 years old, but the man simply produces. He returned to the Buffalo Bills midway through last season and started 10 games, accumulating 70 tackles, 3 pass breakups, and an interception. He graded out with a 68 overall mark, including a 70 against the run. In standard grading metrics, anything above 60 represents solid NFL starter play. Poyer gives you instant operational calm. You don't need a newcomer to completely replace Kobe Bryant's ceiling. You just need someone who can deliver 80% of that standard so the secondary doesn't collapse during his rehab. Now, if we are talking about absolute wild long shots, what about Harrison Smith? Smith has spent 14 legendary seasons in the NFL, all 14 with our bitter division rival, the Minnesota Vikings. He remains unsigned, which clearly signals he is contemplating retirement. But would Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson make that phone call just to see if he wants one final ride? Ben Johnson knows Smith intimately after coaching against him for years in Detroit and Chicago. Is there a 99% chance he says no and stays home? Absolutely. But calling his agent costs nothing, and offering him a starting safety role on a playoff-hungry team might just tempt him. If our coaches decide they feel fine riding with Elijah Hicks and Cam Lewis at safety, then turning focus toward a proven nickel corner like Kenny Moore makes endless sense. Moore is still one of the premier slot defenders in football. He plays the run aggressively, diagnoses quick routes instantly, and holds up against fast slot receivers. Jalen Jones is currently our primary nickel back with Kyler Gordon sidelined, unless rookie Malik Muhammad pushes for reps in camp. Adding a veteran like Kenny Moore locks down the slot immediately, giving the coaching staff massive flexibility until Gordon and Bryant get fully healthy. Finally, let's look at the trade market. Ronnie Hickman in Cleveland is an intriguing contract year safety. Cleveland just extended Grant Delpit and drafted Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who is tearing up camp. If Hickman gets buried on their depth chart, could we trade a 5th or 6th round pick for him near final cutdown day? Another name is Marquise Bell out of Dallas, who started 16 games in 2023 and provides massive special teams value. Dallas might gladly accept a late-round pick swap to move him before roster cuts. Lastly, what about a reunion with Jonathan Owens? Indianapolis has a loaded safety room, and Owens already knows our culture, system, and locker room from his time with us in 2024. Acquiring him via a minor trade gives us instant depth right now and a premier special teamer once Bryant returns. When it comes down to it, bone bruises and hyperextensions are pain tolerance issues, but a minor bone fracture requires pure patience. The coaching staff cannot afford to rush Kobe Bryant back until that bone is completely healed. We have amazing options on the table, but the front office needs to act now. Thank you all for your incredible patience regarding yesterday's stream. A minor family situation popped up in the afternoon, but everything is completely fine, and we are back in full swing. Keep your eyes peeled for more breaking news later today, stay locked in, and as always, bear down.